Hello, fellow Amazon shareholders. I am beseeching that you not ignore the letter that you received in the mail to put in your proxy vote before May 24th of this year, because we have a significant need to shake things up. I have worked for Amazon for, well, it's getting close to a year and a half now. And while I have seen some very good things about it, such as the benefits that keep on improving for the most part, and that LinkedIn has decided we're sufficient to put Amazon at the top of the list for companies for people to work at, which I personally disagree with for other reasons. I've also seen them shut down the Smile Amazon charity program, supposedly because of lack of engagement, when it's very clear that if they had bothered to make it mainstream instead of a separate URL you had to go to use, it would have been much more successful for charities, but eaten up more of Amazon's profits. So I'm pretty sure that's the real reason they ditched it. They didn't want to spend that much money on charities, because ultimately corporations involved in charities generally are doing so not because they care, but because it makes them look good in the public eye. Just like Bill Gates has spent a couple of decades now making himself look good in the public eye by presenting himself as the kind grandfather doing philanthropic work around the nation and around the world, when in actuality his agenda is quite different, in my opinion. So I am asking you to please make sure to participate in the vote. Now, if you're going to use the proxy vote, make sure that you do so before the 24th, which is when the shareholder meeting will occur. It doesn't say where the shareholder meeting will occur, and you can actually go to it if you can find out where it's being held, because all shareholders are supposed to be able to vote either by proxy or directly at the meeting itself. If you are voting by proxy, which means you are voting ahead of schedule, either by phone, by mail, and also there's another way to do it. I forgot. There's an email. There is a website, proxyvote.com, that you can go to, also with that control number on your letter. Put that number in and then fill out the form. You might want to also make sure to read the two documents that are at the top: notice of meeting and proxy statement and annual report. So it does contain carefully crafted material to consider, and do keep in mind that they have written everything to put themselves in the best possible light, and everything that they're against is, some of the reasons they've given are very trivial for opposing these things. So I speak, having spoken to many employees. I work at KCVG, and this was one of the gifts that were given to me and other employees at KCVG. This is not tax-free. We do have to pay the taxes on it, but at least as far as I've been told anyways. But we occasionally get trinkets and junk food and other stuff. Mostly it's very inconsequential. Some of it's just, well, it's cute. Sometimes we get these little snappy pins. I don't know where I put mine, but they're cute. So I want to just, before I give you my thoughts on how you should vote, which in general would be against the board of directors and for everything they're against, but I have to be more specific than that. I want to give you an understanding of what it's like for employees. I have I'm friends with several employees who have moved up the ranks and are not happy. They weren't happy as an associate or an L1. And when they moved up to PA or AM or whatever, they continued to not be happy. And the reasons stated that they moved up was not because they were happy, but because usually they needed more money than they were currently earning. And often, aside from that, the second most frequently cited reason is because of benefits. Now, there are some that I know who intend to leave when they are able to, but are currently, because of their personal situation, they feel trapped and unable to move somewhere else, but will, when the time is right, move on to another company because they're very unhappy, very dissatisfied, and very frustrated. A lot of associates, and I can't say all of them because I haven't spoken to all of them, and I didn't ask the new ones because they don't know what's going on, generally speaking, and it takes months before you see the real side of Amazon. I got a taste of it in my first week, and I've had a taste of it pretty much every week since then. And I've been with the company almost a year and a half. I'm an L1 associate working at KCVG in the Fingers, which is the caster deck area where we load and unload airplane containers of their packages and push them around on the caster deck, which is a steel deck with lots of wheels on it. And the containers can sometimes exceed 2 tons, the largest ones, which are the AAXs or axes. And I'm also an associate safety committee member. I have, for most of my time with Amazon, been a water spider. I volunteered, unlike most of the other people who know how to water spider, who were required to become water spiders later last year, than like maybe 6 months after I became a water spider voluntarily. I've also learned about being a PG, or process guide, and PA, process assistant. I was for a short time an ambassador, but I had for a peak period a path ambassador, but I had to step down because of personal considerations with my family that were very important to deal with, and I'm still dealing with them. But that's setting that all aside. The point here is that every person that I've spoken to, and when I say every person, I'm including PAs and AMs and OMs and even a couple above that. And I'm sorry, I should clarify. A PG is somebody who is like me, has taken on additional responsibilities without any extra pay, mind you. So all these extra responsibilities that I have on the Associate Safety Committee as a water spider, I don't get paid extra. Amazon has an L2 level of pay, but they choose to not give that to most people. I don't know who gets it actually. I haven't met anybody that's an L2. PGs assist or process guides assist the process assistant, which is kind of weird, but okay. And they know pretty much everything that a process assistant knows. They have slightly less responsibilities, but of late, because of a shortage of PAs or process assistants, process guides have been repeatedly requested to handle a flight by themselves, and they do so sometimes because they're hoping for promotion but haven't been given it, even though they've been doing it for months, or they fear retribution if they don't say yes. And this is also true of PAs who, on their off days, when they still come in but are not supposed to be running a flight, are often asked to because there's a shortage, or somebody else refuses or doesn't come in on time. So a lot of people are not willing to say no because they fear what will the consequence be. What will the consequence be if I say no? Now, this is not to say that all people at that level, which is an L3 level, or load planners, not all of them, are disgruntled. but many of them are load planners and process assistants, as well as process guides, because some of the process guides actually want to be process assistants, and despite the need for more process assistants, Amazon KCVG has not opened any opportunities for more process assistants. Also, because of the shortfall in income the past year, Amazon has cut way back on our workforce, which means that there are far fewer of us to do the same job. And there are some amongst us who don't do their job, and management does nothing about them. They continue to laze about, and the only time they move fast is when they're going to break. When they come back from break, they take the long way and they move very slowly. And when they're at their location, they move very slowly. They don't help out other people. They make everybody angry. And because the management does not choose to punish them and get rid of them as they should, then this demoralizes people, because we realize that as an employee, we don't matter. Another example of that is last year there was an accident in which 2 employees accidentally caused the injury of a 3rd employee, and they were both fired, or as we euphemistically say, promoted to customer. This year, in fact, a couple of weeks ago, 2 managers were moving a container, and because of carelessness, they hit an associate with the container. Now, it was empty, fortunately, but the associate was hit in the back, and their back is still injured, and they were reprimanded. So there are different rules, apparently. The morale is really, really low, and it's only gotten lower and lower. I've tried for over a year now to improve the situation, and for the most part, my cries for improvement have met with smiles, and we're working on it, and no changes. The only time that I have actually seen improvement is when there's a legal liability of some kind, and sometimes not even then. I have had many managers fail to act on issues. Now, you're probably thinking, but you're probably just a big whiner. Well, if I was a big whiner, I would have been making this video a year ago. When I go to management and tell them about something, I do so because, number 1, it's affecting employees. Number 2, it's a violation of company policy, such as when PAs, who are kind of like team leaders, move a full container by themselves, and over and over again they move containers by themselves, and that's strictly forbidden, and they get nothing but a slap on the wrist. And I've tried to get that corrected, and it still happens. I am motivated by multiple factors. 1 is employee safety. 2 is employee well-being, and I include morale and mental health in that. 3 is management needs, because I have been in management in the past. And 4, of course, is the bottom line. And what I see, at least at my facility, KCVG, is a massive bloodletting of money. I mean, and also a complete disregard for employee well-being in many situations. And that's management. So basically, you go to a manager, you tell them, they listen, and they seem to be interested and concerned, and they tell you, I'm going to check into this, and I'm going to get back to you. And you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and 9 times out of 10 or more, you don't see any change, and the manager doesn't go back to you. And if you go back to the manager and say what's going on with that, and they'll be like, oh, well, they'll give an excuse. Now, you may think, oh, well, maybe it wasn't important. Okay, well, company policy is important. Employee safety is important. In fact, they always tell you safety first. You are more important than anything in this building. and yet safety violations go unpunished. There's so much more I could say about this, but I've talked to so many people, and the vast majority of people that I speak to are unhappy, and the vast majority of people that I speak to hate the management or dislike him, and the vast majority of them despise HR, both local and global. That's called the ERC, or Employee Resource Center. And that includes the accommodations team and the disability and leaves team and other teams that are specialists within Amazon HR. I have gone all the way up to senior ops managers. I spoke to one yesterday, in fact, and he was totally clueless about why we're all so angry, why we're all so depressed, why we don't care anymore about Amazon. No clue whatsoever. Even though I've told his partner, he handles one half of the week, the other person handles the other half of the week. Even though I've told his partner multiple times. And in December, Amazon sent managers from other locations to survey the employees to find out what was wrong. And we told them, and nothing changed. And they came again last month in April, and we told them, and nothing has changed. So, somewhere, the information is being withheld from some people, such as the senior operations manager I spoke to yesterday. In addition, I talked to an area manager, which is a step below an operations manager and a step above a PA, which in normal parlance would be called a supervisor. So a PA is like a team lead, and a supervisor would be the AM, and then an actual manager would be the OM, or operations manager. And this area manager expressed great frustration and reported to me that he had multiple times gone to management and observed that and when I say management, I mean the OMs, and he reported that, or they reported that when they went to operations managers about the problems, the issues were buried. They were not presented to senior ops. And in my observation from personally going to senior ops, nothing happens either. And I actually have had a very serious case that has been buried twice and is currently being adjudicated again, because another associate lied about me, and and it was buried twice by HR. I cannot begin to tell you the level of frustration and sadness and disgust that I feel as an Amazon employee. When people greet me, I say, maybe happily, or maybe sad, maybe false happiness, right? Or maybe sadly, I say, I work for Amazon. And almost invariably, when I speak to associates, or including PAs, they smile and they laugh and they say, I know, I understand, something like that. They show comprehension that I really mean that I'm miserable when they ask me how I am. Some of them laugh a lot. The only people who seem to be confused by that are managers. They don't seem to get it because they don't understand, or they don't care. I don't know. And I have used it on managers, including visiting managers last month, as well as senior managers, and they just don't get it. I have gone from caring so much about Amazon and wanting so much for things to improve to the point where I'm this far away from just giving up and doing the minimum, like those people who get away with doing nothing all the time, just so I can earn my money and go home and have a few hours with my family, with my kids, and then coming back again. I used to be very happy to go to work, and now I'm very happy when I leave work. I used to be very happy on a Monday, or rather the first day of my work week, and now I'm not. And a lot of people feel the same way. A lot of people have tried moving from one department to another only to discover that the problems are the same. And some people have been denied the ability to move. Like, for example, I tried to transfer to the robotics floor, and my manager, whom was involved in supposedly trying to help me, deliberately delayed telling me what to do. He knew right from the very start what to do because he's an operations manager, which was I should have been sent by him to learning to put in an application. But after 2 weeks of nothing from him, after the first 2 days when he said, I'm talking to the manager of the robotics floor about getting you up there, after 2 days of saying that, nothing. 2 weeks later, I asked him and he said, well, you need to go up to learning and file an application. Why he couldn't have told me that in the first 2 days when they were still looking for the role to be filled, I don't know. But as far as I can tell, he's one of the managers who engages in blocking employees from moving because he needs them, because I'm a very hardworking employee. I'm very vocal, but I'm also very hardworking. And so by the time I found this out from him, the position had been filled, and I was told by learning, oh, well, we'll probably be hiring again in a month or so. But it's been about a month or so, and I haven't heard from them. So I just do my job, and I try to keep an eye on the other employees to make sure they're okay, and I talk to people and find out what's going on and try to find people I can trust as far as management is concerned. And it's quite hard because they've all been trained to behave like they care. Just as when you talk to HR, if you can actually get somebody, they talk like they care, but then it's exceedingly difficult locally and globally, PXT or ERC, to get help where they actually follow through and follow up. I have been trying so hard. And admittedly, when I first started at Amazon a year and a half ago or so, the behavior of the local or PXT HR staff was almost abusive at times. It was certainly rude. And that no longer happens. But they had many of the responsibilities that they used to have are no longer theirs because of abuses, where some of them were playing favorite and protecting certain people. So now only ERC can do it, but it doesn't change. It's still the same. And in looking at what LinkedIn has had to say about Amazon, where Amazon has the best benefits in the world, in the country. Yeah, maybe that's quite possibly true for a large corporation. I know that there are smaller companies that offer way better, including a yearly company-wide vacation, take off whenever you want, for whatever your personal needs are, and a lot of other stuff. And Amazon does have very good benefits, and there's a great deal of flexibility in your schedule because you have unpaid time that you can use anytime. You have paid time that you can use anytime, plus there's vacation time. So don't get me wrong. It's not that there's nothing good about Amazon. There's lots that's good, but it's the way they treat us. It's the way HR treats us and management treats us. And now I've seen other evidence that this is a systemic problem coming from the very top, from the board of directors, from Jeff Bezos, from Andy Jassy, and probably other members of the board of directors. I don't know them personally, okay? All I did today was look at the descriptions for them and try to evaluate on that very minimal amount of information whether I should vote for, against, or abstain on them. Now, I do not generally want to abstain, so I have not abstained on any of my votes, although I was very close on certain votes. Amazon needs to change. Going to inside managers doesn't help. Going to visiting managers doesn't help. Going to HR on site doesn't help. Talking to ERC doesn't help. Even when I escalated to a specialist for kind of like a CSI part of HR doesn't seem to help. Going to senior management doesn't help. And from what I've heard, going above their heads doesn't help either. So the problems are coming from the top and going down. So when you have, say, a megalomaniac in charge of a company, the people they tend to recruit are going to be sycophants and other people that they can control. When you have narcissists, they're going to have lots, and psychopaths. They're going to have sycophants around them. They're going to have people who are capable but are not interested in replacing them. And I realize that the public image of Jeff Bezos and Andy Jassy and Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all these other overly rich white men and some white women and a few people of color is generally good. It's marketing. It's what they want you to see. It's not who they are. So, I hope I have given you enough of an understanding of how desperately Amazon needs to fix. And in case that doesn't nail it for you, here's one more thing. You're losing money on your investment because Amazon is running the company the way it is and disregarding the employees' needs. The unions will continue to win because the leadership is ignoring the needs, the emotional well-being, and managers who respond appropriately, follow through, follow up, and get things fixed. As far as I can tell, most of my managers are borderline incompetent. Nice people, but borderline incompetent. Some of them are fake as all get out. My location only, KCBG, is bleeding money every day because of this incompetence, because of this disregard for employee morale. And talking about money, when Amazon bleeds money, you lose money. And if you're an employee like me, did you know the median wage for an Amazonian is somewhere in the area of $29,000 to $30,000? That's all. Now, coming from a company that was saying the federal minimum wage should be $18 an hour, that doesn't make sense. The majority of employees at Amazon don't earn $18. Now, I earn $20.30 an hour because I work at KCVG, because I've been there for almost a year and a half. But a lot of people don't. And I can tell you, from when I was a single man 25 years, 30 years ago, earning $29,000 an hour, a year, is hard to live on. You have to live carefully. You can save, but you can't really enjoy life. You have to be careful. That was 25 to 30 years ago. And the average employee at Amazon is earning that much, which is worth far less than what it meant to me 25 to 30 years ago. If that's the way Amazon treats its rank and file employees, then Amazon doesn't deserve those employees. Amazon needs to step up and put their money where their mouth is and actually improve the lot of the employees in a direct way by offering wages that are in line with their other benefits. Up here, not down here. If you can give, $211 million in compensation to Andy Jassy in a year, you can certainly improve our wages. And yes, last year Amazon did raise wages. But that doesn't change the basic problem that it doesn't keep up with cost of living. So, now, to the vote. My recommendations, and I encourage you to look at this yourself if you feel confident that you can do so. If you don't feel confident you can do so, you can just follow my lead, but you don't have to. I'm not forcing anybody. Vote. So this is a yearly election for the directors. Vote against Jeff Bezos. Vote against Andrew Jassy. Vote against retired General Keith Alexander. Vote against Edith Cooper. Vote for Jamie Gorelick. Vote for Daniel Huttenlocher, I guess. Vote for Judith McGrath. Vote against Indra Nooyi. Vote against Jonathan Rubinstein. Vote for Patricia Stonesifer. Vote for Wendell Weeks. Okay, now I just want to clarify, there is no racial or sexist motivation behind those recommendations. I don't care about that stuff. I look at the person's, what I know about the person, and in this case it's what they presented in the documentation for this vote. And I considered factors that indicated more about their qualities as a human being and how they relate to other human beings. So, and not what the color of their skin is or what gender they are, because those things to me are not relevant. In the most positive way possible, they are not relevant. Okay? I treat everybody as equally as possible. Now, those are the directors that are up for re-election. And some of them have been, like good old Jeff, have been on the board of directors since the very beginning. He's been the chairman since the very beginning of the company. I find it a little bit conflicting when the person who is the CEO and president is also the chair, which he was, all three, from the very beginning. Now, Andy Jassy is CEO and president, and he's the, I think, vice chair. I find that kind of a thing to present certain problems, especially if the person is heavy-handed, like Jeff Bezos and Andy Jassy are reputedly very heavy-handed. Okay, now, number 2, ratification of the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as independent auditors. They have been with Amazon for a very, very long time, so the relationship has undoubtedly become very cozy, and of course for Ernst & Young it has become very profitable. They have earned, I think the last year was over 40 million working for Amazon. I do not consider them to be independent auditors anymore because they've been associated with Amazon for too long. I believe they need to be replaced with a neutral company that will properly audit the company. Number 3, advisory vote to approve executive compensation. I voted against that. Number 4, advisory vote on the frequency of future advisory votes on executive compensation. I voted to continue with the 1-year rule for that. Oh, and by the way, all of it is listed on the back of your letter, so you can see what they want for and against. Now, I'm going to make this a lot easier in just a second here. The next one is reapproval of our 1997 stock incentive plan as amended and restated for purposes of French tax law. I voted for that. Now, every proposal after that, shareholder proposal after that, I voted for because they are all good proposals and they need to be done, and in some case they are in desperate need of being done. And that the board of directors has voted against all of these in whole or in part is one of the other indicators that shows me how corrupt the company is from the top down. And let's not forget that this company is moving Amazon and your investment in the direction of being in direct conflict with monopolies, monopolistic behavior, the same way Standard Oil did, the same way that Ma Bell did as the sole telephone company in the country, and so on and so forth. Amazon is running the very strong risk because it will deliberately lose money to undercut competitors on prices and engage in other tactics, taking advantage of their wealth to destroy competition. And I don't even need to go too deep into the fact that Amazon collects data on its customers and its employees and sells that to the government and to the third party. Amazon's deeply in bed with the CIA. The fact that there's a retired general on the board is a strong indication of just how closely related Amazon is with the government. And in my opinion, companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and so on, that are in a financially rewarding relationship with the government are also going to be protected from real consequences when they are taken to court. So they will be taken to court. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is a psychopath, and he keeps on going and saying, I'm sorry, it's my fault. I'm sorry, it's my fault. When he doesn't mean it, and he doesn't care because he knows the government is going to let him get away with it because he's giving them what they want. Deep breaths. Please vote for all of the shareholder propositions. Please look carefully at everything. If you disagree with me, that's okay. If you want to share with me why you disagree with me, that's okay too, as long as you are polite. If you're going to be rude, I'll probably delete it, block you, report you, whatever I need to do depending on your level of rudeness. Trolls are not welcome. Flamers are not welcome. People who are trying to get a fight from me are not welcome. So, thank you so much if you actually made it to the end of this. And I really hope that you will vote to make Amazon a great place to work and a great company to buy from. Because at this point, I really, really desperately want to find another company to give my money to as a customer. Even though I love being a customer, except for the website. It sucks. All right. Bye.